Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session of the Launch and Learn series. I am Praise Benson, a junior digital marketing executive here at FutureSoft. Launch and Learn is a bi-weekly program where each staff gets to train people on topics relating to our industry. If today is your first time joining us, you're welcome. Peter Faruna, our key account manager, will be facilitating today's session on the topic Mastering Client Relationships in the Digital Age. Strategies for building long-term trust and loyalty. If you have questions to ask as the session goes on, kindly drop them in the chat and they'll be addressed by Peter after his presentation. Thanks for your cooperation. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Praise. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session of Launch and Learn. Once again, my name is Peter Faruna, one of the key account managers here at FutureSoft. And today we'll be talking about mastering client relationships, strategies for building long-term trust and loyalty. Right. So moving on. So the outline for today is going to be, we're going to be speaking about the evolution of client relationships in the digital age. We're going to be talking about key trends impacting client relationships. We're going to also be speaking about building trust with clients in the first digital world, right? And then we'll also speak about strategies for, the long-term client loyalty. Also, take a brief look at some case studies from the past, and then we'll just close out on the day with the key takeaways and the next steps. So starting off with the session, I'm starting off with this quote that says, the key to a strong client relationship isn't just delivering a service, it's delivering trust, value, and partnership that lasts, right? This is very important because, I think a lot of people, should I say, think that it's just about, delivering my service and that's that. But it's way more than that. It's about, also showing the client that, yes, you can trust me. Yes, you can value my service. And yes, I'm your go-to partner when XYZ things done, right? I'm always there if you need me and all. So starting off, let's dive into this first chapter, which is the evolution of client relationships in the digital. And this is quite interesting because a lot of has changed over the years. Where you have, in previous years, communication was not, this fluid. We're currently experiencing a very type of free communication with clients now. So before the digital age, we had to schedule meetings, phone calls, email exchange that would take, probably maybe days to respond to, meetings that you have to actually walk into the client's office to have meetings and all. You also have, um, the business actually controlling the communication channels, right? You just have now you have third-party applications where you can actually use to communicate with this client. So now, what we currently have now, right? You have from experiences, you have instant responses via live chats, email or social media, right? You see businesses now, every business has like a live chat on their website. You go to their social media, you can just send a DM and you quickly get a response and all. There's also the 24/7 availability, right? As opposed to before the digital age, you had you say, oh, we are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a daily, and that's when we can respond. As much as that still stands, there is still the support that is outside of usual business hours. So even on Sundays, you can actually send out a message to a client, depending on the kind of channel that, sorry, to a business, right? Depending on the kind of channel, and they're available to actually answer. And now there's also the personalized interactions based on past behaviors and preferences, right? Due to the kind of tools that we currently have now, you can see you can actually get to get the pattern of how people interact with your business, and then address them based on that, or push out maybe services and recommendations. Now you also have full transparency on services pricing and issue resolution, because you still have access to, you can see everything digitally that you need to see, right? And an example of this is um, let's just speak about Amazon being being able to give you like a same day delivery. We also have others in Nigeria like that that have that you order something and you get same day delivery. You can actually track. Not just Amazon. You have brands like Chowdeck where you make an order right now. You can track what is going on. You can see when your the delivery guys at the vendor. You can see when he picks it up. You can see when the even the vendor rejects and all. So it gives you like that comfort that yes, my product is going to get to me ASAP, right? And then in terms of personalized interaction, right? I think I've said it before in one of my previous um, launch and learn sessions, right? So you have Spotify, you have Netflix, where the AI takes note of the type of movies that you've seen, or for Spotify, type of music that you like, or sometimes you just play one song. For example, on Spotify, you play one song, and the next thing you are hearing, types of songs in that category. You play 90s, maybe 90s R&B song, songs that come after that is continuous, So that's personalization. Makes you feel like, oh, these people are actually listening to me, but that's just the work of AI. And that's thanks to digital age. Right. So another thing we're going to speak about is the shift from face-to-face to virtual communications, which I already said in the previous slide also, from scheduled meetings to virtual meetings and all. So you had to go to a client's office, you had to sit down, discuss on a contract negotiation. You have to just be there. You have to be sure that, oh, I'm actually speaking to a person. But now you have remote work, and there's remote work now, and that's should I say a bit of a thank you to the COVID-19 era. But I wouldn't say it's a thank you, but at least from there, people realize that we can actually work from anywhere. Like we are Futuresoft, we work most of the time, right? So you have Zoom, you have Microsoft Teams, you have Google Meet, and you can just say, oh, let's jump on the call, share my screen. I'm currently sharing my screen, right? And I'm having a webinar. This could have been done in person if it was, before maybe this era. Also, there's the email and instant messaging. You have Slack, you have WhatsApp, you have LinkedIn. Sometimes you create even groups with your clients on WhatsApp so that you communicate faster. And even in some cases, this outside these platforms, your client might be frequent on another platform. For example, there's a client that he likes to use Signal. You don't use Signal normally, but because you know that you actually need to communicate with that client, and that's an instant way to actually get to the client, you jump on that tool as well. And then there are AI-powered assistants and chatbots that handle basic inquiry. We see a lot of that even in um, different types of businesses where you can just you want an inquiry. It keeps giving you whatever you need to. It has a tree, right? Where if Mr. A says this is the kind of options I'll bring to it. Then it gets to a point where it may feel like, oh, okay, I need to speak to a real agent, and then you can request to speak to an agent. So these are like the things that the advantages, right? But then there is also a challenge to this, um, which is the virtual communication lacks the personal connection and trust building of face-to-face interaction. And how do we, tackle this? Right, you need to um, try as much as possible to humanize your interactions and maintain a strong client relationship. So this goes out of them trying to reach out. You can actually reach out, send personal messages. Oh, how was your experience here and all? What can we do to make this better, right? So that's still like what I was saying. Chat with chatbots, but eventually you can request to directly speak to um, a human agent, right? So then there's also the rise of self-service portal, right? Chatbots and experience, right? And so why does it matter? Right? The client wants the control over the experience, so they don't have to wait for. Nobody wants to just keep waiting for a representative because you can have a business and the business runs on maybe you have 100 or 200 staffs, but at the same time, what if you have people up to 1,000 clients to answer at that point, right? So people want to actually have resolutions, and that's why the introduction of these self-service portals. You can see it on the likes of MTN. You see it on MTN. You see it on bank apps where you can actually make walk through the self-service channels, and then there are also chatbots on websites and even on some of these apps as well, right? So those are like quicker ways to get issues resolved as opposed to actually waiting for somebody to actually get on the call with you before you can have your solutions, right? Then you have um, the key technologies, right? The mistakes to avoid. Sorry, I'm spoken about. The mistakes to avoid is to, you know, avoid over automation, right? So you're sending an email or you're writing a blog post or the client wants to see that there's a human touch to this, right? Wants to see that, oh, you're actually still speaking to me. This is not just a ChatGPT developed content or ChatGPT developed email, right? Um, you can see in some cases where you have people, I think in some instances I've seen where people use ChatGPT for even assignments, and you could tell from even the English, right? And you see a client saying, "Oh, this thing looks like a ChatGPT developed information," right? So it's very important to actually put that human touch in whatever it's done, be it trying to personalize, imputing what needs to be created at different places and at different times. So so you need to also look at what's the complexity of this inquiry. How can I actually make it more understandable to the client and make it less complex, right? And which is the best practice by balancing the AI-driven support with human intervention for complex inquiries, right? And then for this, you have banking apps, for example. Um, Back in the days, you have to go to the teller to actually send money. Now people send money, no matter the amount you have, so far your account is upgraded. You can send whatever amount it is via your banking apps, um, and all, right? Um, yeah. So with that said, we'll be moving on to the next chapter, which are the key trends impacting client relationships right now, in our digital age. So we have AI and personalization, right? Um, which is clients expect customized solution. So in as much as AI is finding um, how they interact with clients, you have these tools that analyze client behaviors, preferences. Um, you have tools that offer tailored recommendations. You can also predict, the future needs of the client before the client asks that with these tools. But we also need to know how to apply this in B2B relationship, and that's the introduction of the CRM tools to track client preferences. You can see um, what they prefer in terms of services that you render, and even in terms of communication, right? Personalized communication based on client history. You've spoken to this client a couple of times, so you know how to approach them when you want to approach them, right? And how to communicate with them, or the language that best suits them when you want to communicate with them, right? Some clients would prefer, on a first name basis. Some clients would prefer, oh, call me sir or ma. Um, some clients also prefer, um, you know, emails, or some clients prefer instant messaging. But at the same time, you have to be careful with instant messaging. And why is that? Because sometimes you have very important information that you need to pass to clients, and it could get lost in, this instant messaging. When you have an email trail, you can always track and say, oh, this is what was said. This was what was agreed, right? So it's quite important that, this this is considered. It also helps you, offer customized and pricing solutions instead of one size fits all, right? So it means that um, you have these services that you render, but sometimes the client might need a customized solution, and then due to the fact that you have this communication with them, can actually pull this off. Right. So let's move to the next. So speaking about omni-channel communication, clients now interact with businesses across multiple touch points, which is the email, WhatsApp, chatbot, phone, video call, social media, DMs. So, right, there's a challenge to this. And challenge to this is it's jointed communication across channels, right, which leads to frustration. So, for example, the client reaches out to you on via email to request for pricing of something. Maybe, oh, I want to actually run a strategy, and then you tell them, oh, it's a 1 million naira. They reach out to you via phone calls, which is probably another representative, and then person gives a different amount, right? Mistakes as minute as that can actually cause like a very serious damage, um, because it makes you look like you guys are not honest, or you people don't even know what you're doing. So it's more like you're all over the place, and the client says, "Oh, I got this information here. Why is the information different here? Don't you guys know what you're doing?" That alone, gives you like a very bad. So it's very important that, in as much as you have these various channels, the communication should be the same across. And when I say the same, I don't mean that you have to use the same English or language all through. It just simply means that you have to have the right information all through the process where you are pushing out. So you can say one thing in 5 minutes, but means the same thing, right? So if I'm telling you, I can deliver your service in 5 days, and it's going to cost that amount of money. I can say it in that way, right? But I'm saying the same thing. So it needs to be the same. So how do you solve this? You solve this by implementing CRM systems that track conversations across channels, right? You can have, these tools that where you know, um, you have continuation of chats. And an example of this is, for example, for a chatbot, right? You can make a request on via chatbot, and then it says, "Oh, I want to transfer you." We're just going back to chatbot discussion. I want to transfer you to an agent. It then moves that conversation that you had to chatbot, and it pastes it to whoever is going to handle the issue. So you don't have to repeat yourself all over from the beginning. Just directly go to directly go to the point. What's the point? And the point is that you want these social services, right? And then you have them right at your fingertips, because you've already passed the right information across. You also need to train your team to adapt to client preference, right? So um as an organization, if you run a business, if it's an agency you run, you need to understand what channels the client prefers communication on, right? Um, so each member of your team needs to understand, oh, okay, this client prefers quick DMs, this one prefers emails. But again, as I said before, when it comes to very important information that should not be messed with, or issues that can actually result in, should I say, issues that can result in, maybe there's something that can come up that you need justification for. Emails are like the best place to track that. That being said, I'm moving on to data privacy and security. So it's very, very important right now. In the large scheme of things, nobody wants their information out there, their personal information, especially when it's it belongs to a company, obviously. So it means that um, privacy matters. They also don't want the information to be out in the open to probably their competitors as well, to know how they actually handle their business. So this is very important. So before now, clients share information freely, assuming these companies will protect it. But now you have, a lot of hacking issues. Even last year, Microsoft was attacked, I think, for about 4 hours, and had access to people's information, as well as Facebook and Cambridge Analytica as well, right? So it's been happening. This happened. So now it states that 86% of consumers say data privacy is a growing concern, right? So everybody wants to be very protective of their data. So as as a business that handles clients, you want to ensure that you are transparent with how you're using um, the client's data, right? You have to ensure, okay, this is what it's being used for. Because sometimes the client can say, oh, why are you asking for this? I don't think this is necessary. It's your place to actually explain that. So this is what XYZ, why we need this, right? You also need to, implement security measures, which is, encryption, 2FA, and, secure payment gateways as well, because, there are ways where people can actually hack into probably a website where you need to make payment and direct payments to other channels. That's very, very important. So secure this. So compliance, this is very important. You have to ensure that your GDPR, CCPA, and other regulations in maybe whatever region are actually met, correctly done. And then we have the best practices for businesses, right? So you have to be clear, like as I mentioned, be clear about your data usage policies, what it's being used for, how it's being used. And then you also need to um, collect only essential data. So you don't just get whatever information from the client because you feel like getting whatever information from the client. You need to know what's being, how you're going to use it. And if you don't need it, you don't ask for it, right? And you can also have the access to allow um, clients opt out of their data sharing. So they want to share this data with you to be able to lock you out when they feel unsafe, or when you guys are not working together anymore. They should have that access to actually remove you from that, so that they feel safe. So this is another trend that's very important right now. Yeah, another one is customer-centric business models, um, right? Which I think I mentioned earlier. Now it's not just about the services, right? You can't say, oh, because I deliver exceptional service, this client is going to stick with me. Some clients will stick with you based on how you treat them, how nicely you treat them, how comfortable you make them feel with you. They'll stay with you based on that. So the old model for this is, businesses focus on products and sales, right? But now the client wants a perfect experience, right? More than the product itself, right? So they want proactive support. How often are you there? How do you show care about their business? They want to know, does this person actually care about does this business actually care about my business? So this speaking from a B2B perspective. You need to B2B or B2C, either ways, right? You need to actually be there, ensure that um, issues are resolved. It's also your job to look at loopholes, whatever loopholes there may be, and try to tackle it before it gets out of hand, or maybe before the client even notices. Um, you have to also make the human-centric design, right? Which is making interactions effortless and enjoyable. Um, do not make the client feel like it's very difficult to communicate with you, or I'm actually passing that information to you and you don't understand. And that's why if you do not understand, you always have to ask questions and try to get clarity on what the client is asking for. Right. And then you have the loyalty driven approach, which is creating experiences that clients want to return to. So not just because, oh, I experienced this thing, these guys were very fast, with the way they handled with the way they handled my orders. And an example of this is, um, Tesla, where there's a direct to customer model. There's no need to walk into the dealership. You can actually order these cars, and it simplifies the buying experience. So back in the days, you have to go see the car for yourself, and all. Now you can actually just sit down and make an order and get your get your order. So moving on, those are the key trends, right? So moving on, let's talk about building trust with clients in the first digital world, in the digital first world. Um, So the first one is the psychology of trust in business relationships. And this is, I would say personally, this is the most important part of client relationship. Because if there's no trust, why should I come to you for anything in the first place? Right. So trust is, um, like it says here, it's not built overnight. You have to develop it, and it has to develop through consistency, reliability, and transparency. Here you have the trust formula, which says trust is credibility plus reliability plus connection divided by risk. Right? It means that there's always going to be risk. But what makes you stand out is the fact that you've done this thing, you know, different times. You have the credibility. You've done this thing over time. You've shown that you're very reliable, and you've also shown connection, which is communicating with clients effortlessly to let them know what is what at every step of the way. So they're actually very comfortable that this thing is actually this person. Even if an issue comes up, would he or she would let me know, you know, when there's an issue, which is going back to consistency, delivering results as promised. So if you say this product or this project is going to be delivered by 15th, it should be by 15th. If the client wants to, get to you, they should be able to get to you at whatever time, even if it's outside of business hours. Which they will definitely understand. Even if it's a few hours from then, they will understand. Oh, this person has been mine. You don't want your client to reach out to you two and for the second, third time. I've been trying to reach out to you, I can't get you. And then transparency, which I've also mentioned as well. Keeping them, letting them know whatever the update is at every stage. And then there's the role of emotional intelligence in this as well, right? You have to understand, the client more, and through this you have empathy, right? Which is you have to listen to their pain points and their needs. That's your number one. You have to understand what they want, but you have to really understand what they want and how you can come in. Active listening, right? You don't want to. I know sometimes clients may make requests that are not entirely good for their business because they think they know. And sometimes you can advise on the client by saying, oh, this is how I want it. The best way to approach that is, coming to a middle ground and saying, okay, let's implement this. Or sometimes, for example, let me give an example of for maybe like for a design project. The client wants a design, gives you their narrative or how they want to approach it design. You as a business knows that the way they're approaching it is actually not the right way. It's going to be a mess. But you don't just want to write off the idea. So what you do is create what they asked for, create what you feel is best, and then you show the client. In most cases, the client turns out to see that, oh, this approach you are using is not even right. And sometimes they might be like, oh, okay, let's go with mine. But because you're going with theirs doesn't mean that you 100% have to go with their route that might be wrong. So you can still tweak and then come to that middle ground I'm speaking about. Also, then there's the adaptability, right? Which I mentioned before, adjusting communication style to fit the client, right? You have to understand what exactly the client wants, how you communicate with the client, how they want to be addressed. Then there's self-awareness. You need to also be aware of your own actions. You don't want to, for example, you don't want to give a report and maybe give a report on a particular metrics. And the client also has um, access to those metrics. And they go and check on their own and they see that, oh, this person is actually lying. Right. There's been a case where you can tell the client, oh, okay, I developed this, and clients go and check. And the client might be wrong sometimes as well, but it's also your job to actually show them that, oh, this is what it is. And so, yeah, so you will also want to be very, should I say, very cautious of that. Still on psychology of trust in business and in business relationships, right? You you want to now want to see how clients stay loyal to brands, and what makes them feel valued. So according to these facts and stats that we have here, it says that 86 of customers are willing to pay more for a greater experience. So you can see here that it's not just about the products and services, but the experience. You know how it makes people feel, makes them feel valued, the experience that you get. And then you also have 65% of the company's business comes from existing customers. Right? This is referrals. Just to be clear, right? It means that you do a good work here, your referrals come, or your business speaks for itself, right? You can your clients can a client can come across um, maybe a branding that you did for a client, and then they might not even have access to that. Maybe they see it online, maybe they see another business online, they see their branding, they're like, oh, who's in charge of this? Maybe your company was tagged and say, oh, design done by, or you go to their website, you go to the website and see Futuresoft was the one that designed this website. They contact Futuresoft. Right? That's not a direct referral, but that's also your work speaking for itself. So how do you want to make your clients feel valued? You want to personalize interactions. You can remember things as things as basic as birthdays, past conversations and preferences. You know what they like. So when you have things like holidays, Christmas coming up, different things. You just want to make your client feel like yes, they are involved. They are part of the team, right? They are part of your family, right? Then you also have proactive engagement, right? You have to check in with your client. So I think it's very abnormal that you have a client and you've not spoken to them in 2 weeks. In as much as maybe you might be doing a great job, you can always reach out to know what they need, um, and do that. You can do that once in a while, and that actually helps with the relationship as well. Clients feel valued. Also, recognition and appreciation, right? There's loyalty programs. You have different kind of loyalty programs. Oh, because you've been with me for how many years? I'm going to give you 50% off this service, or a certain time, right? And you can see we have experienced different businesses, even in Nigeria, where you see, oh, for example, going back to maybe like a food vendor, Novo, or a child day. Sometimes they'll give you, oh, this month you ordered so are going to give you a discount for this month. So those are like the perks. We have feature software as well. We have some clients that are with us for years, and sometimes they will require extra services, and we give them discounts. That makes them always want to come back. So that's the plus um, of this, right? Moving on. So we have transparency and authenticity, right? Why they matter more than ever, right? So avoid over promises and under delivery, right? Um, it's according as seen here, it's the trust killer, broken promises. You can say that I'm going to get this done, and without confirming the feasibility, you've not confirmed from your team. You've not confirmed, you've not checked, you've not checked the timelines or results. Because the client says, "Oh, I want this thing done next week," and you just want to be on their good side, you agree to it, and at the end of the day, you mess up yourself. So the best way to actually tackle this, one of the ways I believe to tackle this, it's better to under promise and over deliver. Though this may sound a bit wrong, but for example, just giving a real example to this, you might have a client say, "I want a branding design done in 2 weeks," right? It's not feasible for 2 weeks, but you can get it done in probably 15 days, right? Which is just 2 days above 2 weeks. Um, the best approach to that is to promise the client, "Oh, we can get it done in 3 weeks." And why is that? You don't have control. For example, I'm going to use myself as an example. In my role as a key account manager, I work with different people in different departments. You have the designers, you have the content team, you have the digital marketers, and the client may ask you, when can we get this ready? The capability and strength of your team, right? Just because the client says, "I want this thing done in 2 weeks," you have to make them. You can't get it in 2 weeks, but you can get it in 3 weeks. Now, why am I adding 5 extra days, right? Because I said 16 days earlier. I can get this thing done in 16 days. I'm adding 5 extra days because in as much as I'll get it out in 16 days, there's still going to be a review period. It needs to be reviewed. It's going to be reviewed by me, still going to be reviewed by my boss before it gets to the client, right? There are different stages of reviews. And why different stages of reviews is very important because to understand the quality of work that goes out. So the work gets done from the design team, the design leader seeing it. There can be an error as a minor error as maybe a typographical error, um, grammatical error. I can notice that, or I might not even see that, and somebody else sees that. So that's the advantage of going through these processes. And these things take time. So you set a realistic time frame. You get it out in 16 days. Maybe it's even done in 14 days. Use 2 days or 3 days to get it done, and then you deliver it. The client will be very happy. I'm like, oh wow, you said 3 weeks, but you got it to me in 16 days. How did you get that done? You guys are very efficient. But no, that's just under promising and over delivering. It's literally the opposite of over promising and under delivering because you've not actually checked the strength of your team. And the solution for this is set clear, realistic expectations from day one. You have to be clear, and you also have to be honest about limitations and the risk upfront, right? So with this, you have issues where okay, in case this thing happens, there are some things that are out of your control. Things like maybe a virus, a hacking situation, but you can let the client know, but you also let the client know that you've carried out all the extensive um, steps to ensure that things are done in the right manner. So you have to always, be honest, come clean. There's no need to lie about anything, right? Um, then you also have to prioritize long-term relationships over short-term sales, right? This is not to say the short-term sales are not important, but if you have a long-term sale and you have a client that's been with you for a very long time, I'm sure you will want to maintain a relationship. So you have to know what's priority, and then through that priority, you set these relationships in the right path. So still on transparency and authenticity, we have open communications during challenges and setbacks, which we still spoke about a bit. Um, be honest about be honest about everything. It's better than perfection, right? It says clients value honest communication more than perfection. You can't be perfect. No one is perfect, right? So you have to ensure that. So just because no one is perfect does not mean that you should not also ensure quality of work. But it also still means that you need to be honest about whatever errors and all. So what not to do? You don't need to ghost your clients when things go wrong. Come out clean. Um, don't wait until the last minute to share bad news. So if things are not being done, in a timely manner, if you've probably run a promotion and promotion is not converting, you need to let the client know before, maybe even before you would share a report. Now, let them know, oh, this is what it is. Promotions I'm running, it's not generating, but we are still troubleshooting and this. So before the report gets to them, they already know what to expect in the report, not that you just drop a report on it. But why don't you tell me that it's not converting? So this is what not to do. And what to do, you need to address issues proactively, right? Your own mistakes, provide solutions, not just let them know that, oh, you made a mistake. What are the solutions you're providing, right? And then you also have to set a realistic recovery timeline, right? There might be an issue. Then it's your job to say, oh, from now till now, we're going to let you know um, what is being done. And this an example of this is Slack's 2019 outage. There was a downtime, right? But they provided real-time updates, trying to let people know that we're working on it. They're not like let me not mention any names, but they're like, some businesses or some organizations where you have an outage somewhere, nobody's communicating with you, nobody's telling you what's happening, you're just in the dark. This makes you gets frustrated because you don't even know what's going on. My network has been down for 5 hours. Nobody's sending me any. I'm not getting a text message, maybe my internet connection, or why nobody's telling me why things are issues are like that. So that leads to you're still losing trust as well as lack of authenticity as well because you're not letting the client know what's going on. So you also have to offer alternatives when there's a problem. And in some cases, in some kind of services that you offer, there might be alternatives, and it's your job to actually provide um, those updates. So I think a key takeaway from this is clients will remember when things go wrong. They will really, really remember when things go wrong. But they'll oh sorry to say, clients may not remember when things go wrong, but they remember how you handle it, right? So there are things that come up. They might not remember exactly what went wrong, but they would appreciate how you approached it. How did they approach it? How did they solve it? How did they keep me how did they communicate with me during the process of these things? Very important, right? So yeah, that said, um, still on transparency and authenticity, you also want to use social proof, right? So for people to know, how authentic you are. So people trust people, not just brands. That said, is before you buy a product online, most times you look at the reviews. I know I do that. I know I do that personally. For example, I want to buy something on a Jumia. I usually I might look for particularly one brand, and I see like 20 of them. I'll look for the one that has the 5 stars, and that's not just enough for me. Once I see the one that has the 5 stars, I click on that one that has the 5 stars, and I read through the comments just to know what people are saying about that. Some you might still see negative comments on other 5 star or maybe 4.5 rating, right? But that negative comments might just be like two, and you have like 20 or 50 other positive comments. That alone will say, oh, even though maybe those ones just had a bad experience, let me just still try. As opposed to a brand that you're not even seeing any what's it called, any reviews at all. You're not confident in that, but you're confident with what people are saying, right? So people trust people, not just brands. So you have client testimonials, highlighting success stories. This too can also be on your website. You have case studies. This on your website also can be on some of your other channels. You have user reviews. You have your certifications and awards, right? You also want to show this, to people to know for them to know that you are an industry authority, not just that, oh, I actually get this. But what have you achieved while doing this? So what are the best practices? You know, sometimes video testimonials are very good because um, in as much as we have the reviews written text, sometimes people could feel like, oh, the people just actually put this up. And I would say that for a fact because when you go on Google Play Store or Apple Store, you can see a brand and see like a 5 star rating. And then when you click on the reviews, the most recent reviews are 1 star, 1 star, 1 star. Then we can now go down and you now start seeing, you get to start seeing comments from should I say um even generated bots. They create emails and put out these comments. Then you now say, oh, okay, they're actually trying to play smart. But then you notice that some of those, when you look through those reviews, you see some of them are very, very similar. So you now get to understand that they probably created different emails, different accounts to come and drop comments here. So video testimonials actually eliminates this. Because if maybe your client from one organization comes and says, oh, this is what you did for what this company did for me via video testimonials, there's no doubt about that. So I think it's very effective. Um, Use specific numbers and results in case studies. So once you are creating your case study, don't just put out, oh, this is what we did. So what were the results? You need to actually point that out. Um, you know, it's more like a portfolio, right? For yourself, it's a portfolio basically. You have to show results, what you've done so far. So it's very important. Also, you want you to have consistent communication, setting the right expectations, right? Um, you have regular check-ins and follow-ups to clients to keep clients engaged. And the number one reason clients leave is feel ignored. If you keep ignoring the client, if a client keeps saying, I need this, I need this, I need this kind of thing, I need, and you just get tired and they just leave, right? And that's what happens. So the solution to this is to, schedule check-ins. You have weekly, bi-weekly check-ins. Um, you have to also do post-project follow-ups to ensure that you are committed to actually giving them the best of their, um, um, you know, best of your services, right? You also have to also have to be open to feedbacks, right? You work on something, but the client can also tell you, oh, this is what I feel you can do for me to make me feel more involved or um, more valued, right? Then also you have clear communication in project timelines, deliverables and pricing. Clarity prevents confusion, frustration, and scope creep. So whenever you're putting together an agreement, a negotiation, you actually need to be clear. We need to be clear. I need to understand. You need to define the timeline. When is the start and when is the end date? You can also even make your client understand that if you delay, through this project timeline past your review period, it's going to, incur additional cost. Because if it doesn't, you're actually losing money by working past the timeline that you set. You also want to um, outline exactly what you're going to do at every stage, and then be upfront about the cost and additional fees. I think we're running out of time, so I have to move fast. Um, then on consistent communication as well, you still have, using automation without losing the human touch, which I already mentioned, balance automation with personalization. So where automation helps, email reminders for meetings and follow-ups. We have tools for that already. Um, you have chatbots for FAQs and basic support. You have CRM tools for tracking clients and interactions. Then you have where the automation hots, right? And we can always, that's why it's very important to always put the human touch. Generic robotic responses, reliance on AI without human oversight. So this can actually damage business. So you need to be very, very careful on how you get this done. Yeah, so moving on, we'll be speaking about strategies for long-term client loyalty. Right? So the first is to understand the client journey from acquisition to retention. All right. So the sale doesn't just start after a sale. Sorry, the client, sorry about that. Client loyalty doesn't just start after a sale. It starts from the first interaction. The first point you start communicating with clients, that's when the loyalty starts because you let them know. You let them know the 5 stages, which is the awareness, right? Client discovers your brand through marketing referrals or industry exposure. Now that they engage with you, they start exploring your content, they attend your webinars or follow your updates, and then conversion. They become a paying client, choosing your solutions over competition. Now, here comes the retention. You maintain its satisfaction through consistent value, communication, and service, right? You have to be up to speed to understand what they need at every point in time. That actually you know, keeps them with you. And then you have advocacy. Satisfied clients become brand ambassadors, referring you to other businesses. You do an excellent job for one client. When they ask, oh, who did this for you? They're so excited. Oh, it's this people that did this for me. They took their time to do this, and they're actually selling you already without even knowing that. Sometimes some people know they're selling you, but they just want to brag about how these people are actually very effective. I'm very happy. I personally have some bank apps that I use. I'm very excited to the extent that sometimes someone will tell me, "Oh, are you sure you're not marketing for these people?" I'm like, "No, they're actually very effective." I've never actually experienced the downtime with you know, um, bank app and all. That's me just saying my own personal experience of what I like about that banking app. But then I'm also selling them to that person, right? So it's very important. You have to effectively capture, understand the client journey from awareness, through your website, social media ads, industry events, your engagement, kind of emails you send, kind of free resources you offer, the consultations that you offer, conversions, the type of onboarding, how you onboard them, the kind of contracts that you deliver, the kind of project that you deliver as well. And then, for the retention, you check on them, you support, you always educate them for the services that you render as well. And then you have this advocacy where you can also, when they give you testimonials, where there's also case studies, and sometimes you can actually even give referral rewards when the client says, "Oh, I referred you to this business," right? You make them feel very, very valued, right? Still speaking on understanding client journey. So the best practices for each stage is to ensure a seamless onboarding process, right? You also want to have regular check-ins after the sale, and then you also want to encourage feedback to identify where that's dissatisfied, right? So that it doesn't escalate. Some clients will not even get to tell you until it gets up to here. When they are very frustrated, that's when they pour it out on you. So it's very, very, very important to try to understand, where they are at each point. So the other part of this strategy is to proactively manage the accounts, anticipating the client needs, right? So great client account management means solving problems before they happen, using data and feedback to predict challenges before they arise. So this data helps you spot trends in client behavior and needs, right? So the tools and strategies used for this is, so one is the client feedback loops. You have regular surveys and net promoter score to track, what it is that they're not really okay with. You also have to use analytics, um, track how the clients engage with the services, see what they prefer. And then you have customer segmentation. You have to identify what each client needs, using different client types, right? So with that said, still speaking on proactive account management, you want to upsell and cross-sell, using this as a value-driven approach. So the biggest mistake you can make is to push sales that doesn't have any relevance to your business. You don't want to, you can see that your client, this particular client is doing amazingly well on social media. How do you really want to push sales to them, right? How do you want to push that sales to them? So you need to identify what's wrong. Or even in that social media that social media they're actually doing amazingly well, there might be something that is wrong. It might be something that has to do with branding. It might be something that has to do with how they engage with clients. And you can just make those recommendations. But you don't just come and just give them, oh, let me just handle your social media without pointing what's wrong, right? So what not to do is to force upgrades without showing value. So what's the value? What is this going to bring? You don't want to sell new services without understanding the client goals. The client doesn't need a new website. That website is working perfectly well. You don't need to push that. So what to do? You need to identify the gaps, right? Look at what's wrong, which I already mentioned. You have to educate. You also have to explain to them how this additional services create a way better outcome for them, right? You also have to bundle strategically. So offer services that naturally complement each other, right? You want to do a branding project that, okay, maybe that eventually you need to also need to rebrand the website, because if do the branding and the website is of another color, you just need to actually align. So you can actually bring those kind of services that complement each other, right? So that's another way to go about it. Under proactive account management still, you have providing clients with strategic insights rather than just services, right? So clients don't just need a service provider, they need a trusted advisor. In as much as you're the one, you're professional, you also need to show them, what is wrong and why they need these things, right? So ways to add strategic value. You want to share industry benchmarks to help clients measure their progress. Okay, this is what this organization is doing that is making them perform this way. Would you like to be on this, same feet or surpass this? This is what we need to do. Offer trend reports that help them stay competitive and provide solutions, not just deliverables. Recommend improvements, what can be done. So I think the key takeaway from this is to, you know, uh, the key goal is not just to retain clients, but to become, a part of their business that's indispensable. You don't want them. If you're offering like a digital marketing services, somebody else can also, another organization can also offer that. Or how do you, what makes you indispensable is the type of insights that you provide. So they will not just want to go somewhere else because they know that you're actually handling this thing perfectly, right? So we want to go beyond sale, right? So the power of thought leadership and education. So you have to educate your clients, you know, educate them about about their industry, even about their industry, and also educate them about what you offer. So educating clients builds trust and positions your brand as an authority and an industry as an industry leader, because it means that you actually take your time to do the work. You take your time to do the research. You don't just um, provide services. Also show them what they need to do, right? So you have types of value driven content. You have blog posts, white papers on industry challenges, webinars and live Q&As on pressing topics. You have case studies showcasing the best practices, right? And the example for this is, SEMrush offers free SEO guides and toolkits, making them an authority in the industry, right? So they don't just provide, SEO optimization, etc. and all. They also provide guides, making making their customers and clients feel like, oh, these people don't just want to make money off us, but they also want to show us how to get these things done. Right? It's very important. Um, Still beyond sale, you want to also share industry trends to help clients stay ahead. So what to share, right? You want to share the market trends that impact their business. You want to show them the emerging technologies they should adopt. You want them to see the competitor insights to help them strategize, right? So for us, for example, Futuresoft provides a bi-weekly news data, which we call digital blog. This touch base on with everything that regarding digital transformation. So everything that has to do with digital, we on a bi-weekly basis, we won't say, oh, we are speaking with on this week, right? And from digital blog, we've gotten a few clients from there. So you can see that everything that you do is actually important. Gartner also provides cutting edge research that helps clients make informed decisions, right? Moving on, you have the role of data personalization in strengthening client bonds, right? So again, personalization is not just a trend, it's very, very important. It's an expectation. Now, using CRM tools to track client preferences and past interactions, you use like I already mentioned this earlier as well. A strong CRM helps you remember the details that matter, right? So so the best practices to this is stop past conversations, preferences, and feedback. Now, I've handled a project before where my boss said, go back to this person's email, read through email, and try to understand them and see what what was done wrong, and where the loop may have come from. And yeah, I actually did go there, read through it to understand, oh, okay, this is how this person needs to be communicated with. Sometimes you can actually deal with clients and they are speaking an English that they don't even understand because they are not in your field. So they might not understand, the approach you're using. So it's your job to actually break it down to a level where they do understand. Right. So very important. Set reminders for follow-ups and key dates, track service usage and client behavior trends, right? Then you want to automate personalized messages and reminders. So automation should feel human, not robotic, right? In as much as you have different brands all over the globe that sends you happy birthday messages, but they don't just randomly send you happy birthday messages. They use your name, they use your first name, make you feel like it's personalized. In as much as it was already automated, but it makes you feel like, oh, you are valued. You send reminders for contract renewals, that's for the best practices, or service updates, offer personalized discounts based on past purchase, right? So you want them to feel that feel valued. That since they've used this service for a very good number of time, let's give them a discount this time. This is part of making them feel valued. Still on the role of data and personalization strengthening client bonds, you want to offer customized solutions instead of one size fits all approach, which I already mentioned earlier as well. You ways to customize. You have to be flexible with your pricing based on usage. What are they using? If you offer 5 packages under, sorry, or 5 services under one package, and they want 3, you have to customize it to make it fit what they want. You also have to have a custom, you have to custom dashboard and reports tailored to the client needs. So the client wants to drive sales. I'm not really sure the client wants to see how many people it's reached without conversion of the sales. You can actually show it, but the key focus should be the sales that they needed to drive. You also need to, adapt your services packages that, evolve its client goals. So these are the ways to customize, right? So let's speak on, case studies and real world examples. And these are two. We'll speak on one that's a successful one, and then one that went sour. So the first one is HubSpot, right? From the challenge that they had in their early days, people they had clients complaining due to complex onboarding and slow support response times. You have some of this, even brands up to now, some applications up to now where to even get things as simple as OTP takes a whole lot of time. So, how did HubSpot tackle this issue? They introduced personalized onboarding for new clients, right? It means that they really saw the need to actually make sure that they don't lose these clients. So they took them through a very detailed onboarding process. They also implemented proactive checkups, check-ins to offer assistance before issues escalated, send emails or maybe send in surveys as well for people to feel and tell them what's wrong. Also, they also created a knowledge hub with webinars, guides, and self-help resources. I'm sure a lot of people have seen HubSpot webinars and the likes, and we've attended. I'm sure a few of us here, or maybe everyone here, has attended something that has to do with HubSpot. So what's the result? So the result for this is the customer churn dropped and clients became brand advocates, sharing success stories and referrals. To the extent that people now say, oh, okay, I make use of HubSpot, I've done this and all. So the lessons learned here is that, the clients appreciate brands that listen, adapt, and proactively support them, right? So, another brand, we're speaking about MySpace. I'm sure everyone's familiar with MySpace. Um, so the problem with MySpace was that, they failed to keep up with their user expectations, had slow innovation, and ignored user feedback. And even till date, we have some brands doing that. So they overloaded their platform with ads, and this is another thing that disrupts user experience. Even YouTube has, for example, I'm on YouTube, you see ads everywhere, but it wasn't as bad as that of MySpace. They also lack clear communication on the platform updates and security. They also fail to personalize the platform to retain users as competitors evolve, because new people came out and offered better services. So what was the outcome of this? Users migrated to Facebook, which offered a cleaner, user-focused experience. So what could have been done differently? If they are listening to client feedback to adapt to their needs, maybe MySpace will be one of the biggest social media platforms now, because yes, as well as Google and Facebook, a better user experience with less intrusive advertising, right? You don't have ads everywhere. Then you have more proactive innovation instead of reactive change, right? You don't just make changes because you feel like making updates. You have to look at what the clients are demanding. I know for a fact that People were complaining about WhatsApp a while ago, where where you get a lot of messages and your messages drop down, and there were this series of complaints via their reviews where people said create a tab on your app where you can actually click on read messages. This they didn't do for a while, but they did it on the desktop version. Yeah. But eventually, we all know that right now, if you're on WhatsApp, you can go to your unread messages. It's so cool now on WhatsApp that you can actually even create a group where you can say, oh, this is my group for work. Once you click on that group, you see all your chats from people from your work. You have maybe your friends, you can create those type of groups. They don't see it, but you are customizing it on your own WhatsApp, right? So those are the kind of interesting updates that they listen to what clients said and even made it better, made the experience better. Now you can even change your chat color. People were complaining about the whole green. Oh, it's just so green. Now you can change on WhatsApp. You can change your chat bubbles to yellow, whatever color. So interesting, right? Um, so that's what brands need to listen to. You need to listen to what your customers want. So yeah. So moving on to the key takeaways and actionable steps. Um, so the first one is trust is the foundation of long-term relationship. Very important. So clients stay loyal to brands that are reliable, honest, and deliver on promises. A single negative experience can break trust, right? So you have to be consistent. So just because you delivered excellent service throughout last month doesn't mean you have to be nonchalant this month. You also have to be transparent, consistent, and use personalization to drive loyalty as well. So be upfront about challenges, timelines, and pricing. You also have to do regular check-ins and follow-ups to keep clients engaged. You also have to create customized solutions and communications to each client needs. Another thing is to technology can enhance relationships, but it shouldn't replace human connection. So I know I've mentioned a lot of chatbots, AI, CRM tools, uh, you know um, and things like that. But that doesn't mean that you should ignore your human touch. So use automation for efficiency, but ensure clients still feel valued and heard. Then you have personalized emails, video calls, quick responses that build stronger brands than chatbots alone, right? So those are like the key takeaways. So what are the actionable steps that we need to take with this? We need to implement a client relationship strategy, right? So that you see that this client is up for a weekly check-in or monthly or quarterly strategy sessions, whatever it is that you feel that would make this client feel valued. Some clients want to speak to you and always let you know or give you feedback. Be available to them, right? You also want to use CRM tools to track and personalize client interactions. So keep records of past interactions, which I mentioned before, preferences, and key milestones. Automate reminders for important client needs, renewals, birthdays, project updates, etc., things like that. Things as basic as birthdays can actually go a long way, right? Because they feel valued. Be proactive, not reactive. So don't wait for clients to reach out to issues. Monitor their needs and provide strategic insights, right? And then again, make transparency your core value, right? So you set clear expectations around project timelines, deliverables, and pricing. So if challenges arises, you need to communicate openly and offer solutions. Lastly, you need to balance automation with human touch. Use chatbots and automation for efficiency, but ensure clients can always connect with the person when needed, which a lot of brands are already doing. But yeah, there's always there's always room for improvement, basically. So I'll close off the session with a quote that says, clients don't just buy services, they invest in relationships. The brands that win are the ones that truly care. So you are not just doing all these things because you're not just doing all these things because you want to make sales. You are doing this because your own reputation also matters. You are doing this because you should be happy that the client is happy. Um, if a client says, you did a wonderful job, you should be happy. If you are not, then you're probably doing the wrong thing, or you're probably chasing the wrong profession. So if you're doing something and you're coming off great, and your client says you're doing something outstanding and you're happy, then you're actually doing something great. Thank you for joining this session. I'll hand over to you, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Well done on that session. These are really clear-cut strategies to help businesses effectively engage their clients in 2025 to gain the needed results. So well done. Thank you for sharing those insights. In the absence of questions, we can now bring the session to an end. And if you have questions while watching the video, drop them in the comment section. We'll be very happy to answer your questions. Join us next time for another session and have a lovely day. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.